Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Gillian Hepburn from Schroders, and welcome to the 10th podcast from the Diversity Project Gender Workstream, where we explore a range of themes and consider how we encourage women in particular to join our industry. However, as I always say, everybody is welcome. All of the previous podcasts are available on the Diversity Project website and also on Spotify. I always say this, but it's dead cool. Last month, we had a great session considering mentoring and all of the benefits that can bring to us. And I also think it's really important that we demonstrate how young people who join our industry can be supported, both at the outset and also throughout their career. And this week, therefore, we're exploring networking, which in many ways relates to mentoring. And let's explore why I think that's the case. So we'll consider the benefits, how to go about it, what is networking actually? Is it just about attending events? And then can we share some hints and tips? So who is in the virtual studio with me today? I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by my very good friend, Rose St. Louis, Protection Director at Lloyds Banking Group, and also by Mayo Akeli, who's currently an intern, having finished her PhD in maths, and she is fast becoming my new friend. But I'm going to let them introduce themselves as we go through this podcast, because it's more fun than me sitting here going through a CV. So Rose, let's open up with you. Without further ado, can you give us a little bit of your background? I always think it's just really important for people listening in on this call to hear where some of us have come from and how we've got into financial services. But if you give us a little bit of your background, how you've got here, and also then what networking means to you.
Yeah, sure. And thank you for inviting me onto the podcast. How lucky am I? I have been in financial services for some time, 25 years now. And I know I'm wearing well, so thank you very much. I started off, graduated from University of Kent, and I was a financial advisor, first of all, for 10 years, back in the day where you would do everything. So pension, savings, investments, protection, mortgages, healthcare, you do everything. Very different today. So I did that for 10 years in a whole bunch of ways: commission only, employed, self-employed, bank assurance, IFA, tied advisor. So really had a good flavour for what it's like to be dealing with customers. Did a brief stint in risk and compliance. So didn't stay there for very long. As you can tell, that's not really my personality type. Back into kind of like distribution, working in outsourced investment management, and outsourced investment processing. So worked with like asset management as well as kind of like investment platforms, worked in a couple of retail platforms, more recently co-funds when it was L&G owned, and then at Zurich. Stepped away from corporate world for about 12 months and worked at KPMG in professional services. Again, that was a really interesting experience, having a panoramic view of financial services, and then jumped back in at the beginning of this year working at Lloyds Banking Group, being their protection director, so representing all the banking brands, Bank of Scotland, Halifax and Lloyds, as well as Scottish Widows. So my career's not really gone in a straight line, but I think that the wealth of experience along the way and the networks that I've created along the way, see what I did there, has really helped, has really helped me in my career. So, and I think you said to kind of like to segue into the next question, you know, what are the benefits of, no, what does it mean to me?
What does it mean to you? Yeah.
Sorry, you can tell I get so excited about talking about my career. So what does it mean to me? So just that. I mean, for me, it's just like a real great opportunity to be curious, to find out how to do my job better by speaking to people that have maybe done it before, done bits of it, have a view from the outside in as well as from the inside out. It's to kind of like get together with like-minded people, or indeed people who think totally different and can give me a different perspective. I think it means different things to different people. And whenever I think about networking, I don't think about it as a thing to do, i.e., you know, pick up a box of business cards and let's go to an event. I think about it as a way to express my curiosity and get something out of it, or offer something to it. So that's really broad, and I purposely have made that broad so people can take what they need from that and actually personalize it for them.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Rose. I mean, obviously what you've demonstrated there is a huge career in terms of variety, and obviously that's really important, but also you picked up an important point there as well about careers not going in straight lines, and they can kind of, if I would call it, zigzag around the place, yeah? And that's always important for young people that listen to this call. I know we're specifically focusing on networking, but I think we can always share other experiences on the call. So that's been a great start in terms of what networking means to you. I'm now going to go over to Neil. Neil, welcome to the podcast. We're absolutely thrilled that you could join us today. Do you want to give us a bit of an indication of what your story has been so far in terms of your journey into financial services, and also what's your experience of networking to date?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me here today, Gillian, to be here with you and Rose to discuss networking. I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic session. So brief background about me. I graduated in 2017 with a master's in engineering, and then not too long after I decided to do a PhD in mathematics, and I've just only completed that a few weeks ago. So at the moment I'm at that waiting period where I've submitted my thesis, but I am waiting for it to be examined by a group of experts, and then I'll be conferred with my doctorate degree. So I thought it would be a good idea to gain experience and exposure to the financial services industry whilst I'm waiting to be conferred on my degree. So I applied to the 10,000 Black Interns program last year, and I was successful. And so I'm currently doing my internship at a private equity firm in London, Key Haven Capital Partners. And yeah, so that's basically my story to how I got into the financial services. And what do I think about networking? I think for me, I feel like there are a few misconceptions as to what networking is. I think some people might see it as simply meeting people for the purpose of, getting something from them, getting ahead, or using them. I think my perception is quite different from that. I think that it's mainly about seeing the value in yourself and seeing the value in other people and thinking more long term rather than short gains. I believe that when you're able to have sort of foundation, then you're able to build a more effective network, and you would then focus on trying to figure out how to help people rather than what you can get for them. And I think from there on, your relationship with your network can flourish, and they can then, will be willing to help you whenever they can.
That's great. There's a couple of great points in there. I think, first of all, what we're already seeing is that networking isn't just about collecting LinkedIn contacts, right? So, yeah. And secondly, I love the point that you made there about helping people. We'll explore this a bit in the podcast today, that the networking is a bit of a two-way process, isn't it? It's about helping each other and what we can all gain from it. So we'll look at that in a bit more detail going forward. Rose, coming back to you, what do you think are some of the key benefits of networking?
So I'm happy to talk about that, but I've just heard Mayo speak and I just want to be her. I'm immediately intimidated by her PhD, and then I just want to rewind to the back of my career and go again with all of her energy and enthusiasm. So that's grown to it. So sorry, but I just had to say that because you like, yay you. I'm excited about what your career holds. But sorry, Gillian, to answer your question.
That's all right.
You knew it's going to be dangerous having me on, didn't you?
No, I did, but I also agree. I was like, PhD, this is really good. Well done. We've all got our fingers crossed for you.
Yeah, for sure. Benefits of networking. So there's a whole bunch of stuff, right? It depends what you're looking for. So I kind of wrote down a bit of a list actually of some of the benefits that I think that I've taken advantage of, as well as I've been able to offer to people. So I've got some great industry colleagues, and actually I've got some really, really good friends. Off the back of that, I've got people to go to for knowledge, experience, both technical and strategic. I've been able to use my network to get introductions for jobs, to get referred for new roles. It helps with my promotion, not just because people have introduced me, but because people have advocated for me through my network as well. So what I'm trying to demonstrate there is it's not your immediate network, but the ripple effect of your network as well, which is really, really significant. And then, a shoulder to cry on, because sometimes it's not good, right? Everyone talks about networking in a really positive way, but sometimes you really need that place to turn to say, this is really rubbish, I'm really struggling, and you want to do it in a safe environment. You might want to do it outside of the organisation you work from. You might want to do it outside of people who have immediate influence around promotions for you. So you need to go to that kind of like psychologically safe place and secure place where you can just kind of verbally throw up in a place where you feel safe and have someone work through some stuff with you. So it's just really people that have got your back, who will kind of like, you know, will push you up and like pick you up, but also that they will also have a really strong conversation with you when you're when maybe you're getting too big for your boots. But you trust that, right? You know, and I've got people that say, well, actually, Rose, I see where you're coming from there, but rein it in a little bit. And I'm, you know, and there are people that you trust that when they say that, you'll be like, okay, so I should listen to that. So there's a whole bunch of stuff, from the kind of like career stuff right through to the friendship stuff. And arguably, Gillian, you know, we started off as this professional network, and now we're friends, and we have a glass of wine from time to time on the weekends and stuff. And I think that's something that's really precious that can come out of your network. One other thing I would say, just really, really briefly, is your network's like it's an active dynamic thing. So you know, people come in and out of it all the time, and I don't think that there's anything to be worried about that. And also, some people are very active with your network and some people are really passive. Sometimes you need to wake up and say, I need some help, or let me help you, and then sometimes there are people in your face pushing you on and giving you opportunities, and that's the beauty of it. I think, you know, it's just this fabulous bubbling resource that you can use in a way that serves you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've made loads of great points here, Rose, and I think one of them actually I'm going to pick on in particular is about creating a safe environment. You know, you and I are involved in Women in Platforms, for example, and last year when we all went into lockdown, we recognised really quickly that for some of our network that might be a challenge, where suddenly they were working from home. I'm thinking of some of the young women that worked with us who had just moved job and suddenly, you know, got their laptop on a Friday and were sent home, and also some of the young women that worked with us that in the network who managed teams, that were suddenly having to manage teams remotely and just struggling a little bit with that, and didn't feel that they had somewhere to go to have conversations about that. And you know, when we went into virtual networking, which was a challenge in itself, it did give people a safe place to have some of those more difficult conversations, and to get some help and advice from people, let's say like you and I, who are a bit longer in the industry, and could maybe give some help and advice. So there's just loads of ways that a network can absolutely benefit you. And Neil, what about your thoughts now? Obviously, Rose given us lots of examples here.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with Rose. I think a few things I'll add is in my little experience, I think networking also provides you with a greater pool of information and resources that you would otherwise not have access to. For example, someone in your network could be specialized in a subject that, you know, maybe your daughter is struggling with, or a subject your daughter is struggling with, or projects that you might need help with. So I think it provides you with more access to information and resources. And I also think that with networking, for someone in my stage as well, you could go to someone in your network for career advice in regards to what to do, steps to take when you're moving on in your career, and then they could also offer guidance and direction as well, what to do. So I think there's so many benefits that could come from your network and just networking in general.
Yeah, sure. Rose, what do you think? What do you think makes a good network, and also how do you find them? How do you access them?
How do I find these people?
Yeah, how do you find them?
I seek them out. So what makes a good network? I would say appropriately diversity. You do not want people that think and act exactly the same way you do, or have the same role you do. Now, you might want a few of those people, but actually, if you want someone to be able to reflect something different back to you, and offer something different to challenge you, to kind of like help you occupy your stretch zone rather than your comfort zone. So I'd say diversity. So if I think about my network and what I think makes it really quite precious is it's black, white, brown, it's male, it's female, it's gay, it's straight, it's young, it's old, it's a whole bunch of people, but not just that from the individuals. They work across the whole range of financial services. So insurance, from life insurance to general insurance, investment management, asset management, investment processing, technology, you know, startups, large corporations, like a huge number of different organizations across the whole of financial services. So I always think that I've got someone I can talk to, I can get a view, and actually I can test the view I get cross sector and cross individual. So I think that what makes a good network is the diversity of it and the depth and the breadth. So you've just got so many areas to turn to. And how do you create that? Just be curious and having conversations. So like it or not, Mayo, you will be in my network moving on, because you've got a perspective that I immediately am drawn to, you know, just from your education, your ambition. There's loads of stuff that I just find attractive about you. So I'm interested in what you can do and how I can help you. But also I'm interested on how I can bring a problem to you, and I want to get your perspective on it. So that's an example of how I would find someone new into my network, just right from the get-go.
Yeah, so actually you've kind of answered my next question, Rose.
Oh, sorry.
No, in a good way. Because the next one was I was going to ask, because people often think about networking as I need to just turn back to your point I think you made earlier, I need to turn up in an event with a bunch of business cards. And that's really not what you're saying, is it? No.
Not at all. So good people and people that can be of value to you and you can be of value to them are just all over the place, right? You know, they're on this call. You know, I'm sure that there are a whole bunch of people listening to this call that might want to reach out to any of us to ask a question. And can I just offer a little point of counsel? If you do, don't just send any of us a LinkedIn request. Make it purposeful, write a message, because if people just say, can I connect with you, and get the standard, it is highly unlikely that I might decline that, which sounds a bit rough, but why? You know, why do you want to connect with me? So you need to have purpose around that. There needs to be a connection. There needs to be an interest. There needs to be an engagement. So I've told Mayo why I'd be interested in her being in my network. So I've told her what I think I can offer her, and I've told her what I think she can offer me. So I think that you can find a whole bunch of people in your network for a whole bunch of different reasons in everyday life, whether it's at work, whether it's outside of work, socializing. It's just where the interest is peaked.
Sure. And Mayo, as somebody obviously younger in the industry and with less experience and contacts, what's your view on accessing people in network? I know you mentioned the Black interns, but are there other opportunities that you see available in terms of networking and finding new contacts?
Yeah, I think like Rose said, I think you can find new contacts almost anywhere, as far as you're curious and you're just willing. So even if you volunteer for an organization, or you're interested in a specific subject or a specific area, just find something I think strikes a chord within you. And then if you join that, I think you can make networks that are of value. So for example, with this diversity project, I didn't know any of you like few months ago. I just said yes to an email I received, and here I am months later speaking to both of you, and now you're part of my network. So I think it's part just of the network. Yeah, so it's just about being curious, and I think networking comes in various forms. Just find what works for you.
Yeah, great. Now, one of the things, Rose, we've often spoken about is, how do you get the best from a networking opportunity? And you have 3 areas, don't you? 3 questions that you think people should consider. Could you share those? Because I really love it.
Yeah, I will do. And I have to remember them now, don't I? No pressure. So the 3 things is kind of like, what do I want from my network? What can I offer? And who can I connect? So they're the 3 things, and that creates a value exchange. So, what do I want? So I might need a coach. I might need someone to help me write a business plan, or I might need someone to do a practice run on because I'm going to do my first on-stage performance or presentation, or I've got to prepare for my first board meeting. It could be anything. So what do I need from my network? What skills and who can I reach into? What can I offer? So it could be I have leadership experience, I've done mentoring before, or I've done that role that you're going to apply for. So let me tell you how I put together my first 100-day plan that you might need to do. So what can I offer to someone? And the best bit is when you've got a really, really cool network, who can I connect? So that's I'm really frustrated. I feel like I want the next stretch in my role. I'm not getting in my company. And I'm like, oh, well, actually, I heard that this person is looking for this kind of person. Let me put you in touch with them, and let me see if I can get them to talk to you. And it could be something or nothing. And that's just brilliant when you can connect people, because that just makes you feel good. It makes you feel that you've enabled something, and that gives you credibility and more value that you can add to your network as well. It also gives you brownie points, right? Because then you can go back to people and ask them for stuff again because you helped them out last time. So it's just an exchange. It really is an exchange. And as long as there's value to each person in that exchange, then you know, you lean into that.
Yeah, absolutely. I do always love the bit about connecting, because, you know, I really enjoy connecting people, and, you know, I have a huge network. So, you know, if other people can benefit from my network, then, you know, why not? It's about sharing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I get real pleasure when I can connect people and I can see things happening. There's just loads of great examples of that right across the industry. Mabel, what's your thoughts on that as a new networker who's clearly going to get bombarded by Rose when she needs any help in terms of understanding young people and how they think? What's your thoughts there?
So my thoughts on, is it how to get the most of your network?
Yeah.
I think for me, I feel like you have to think about nurturing it as well, your network, because you can't sort of come out of the blue and request for something, because it just seems like you're using a person which nobody really likes. So I think it's about nurturing your relationship with the network, and also trying to see how you can add value, which is basically what Rose has just said. Even if it's about thinking that if you see an article, for example, and information that you think might benefit someone in your network, why not share it to them? Because then, you know, it helps nurture this relationship, and then it also puts you in a good light that, you know, you put there in your thoughts as well. So like Rose said, brownie point. So yeah, I think when you have that in mind of adding value, not just collecting, then it helps.
And Rose, I'm going to ask you the fun question now, because we talk a lot about this when we are networking face to face, right? And we've all been there, where you're kind of in a conversation and you think, this isn't serving me. How do you avoid getting stuck in that conversation, and what do you do?
So that's a tough one, right? And I guess we can all laugh about this, but so we can laugh about it, then we can come on to the serious part. So, you know, if you're stuck talking to someone, you can excuse yourself and go to the loo. That sounds really bad, doesn't it? But sometimes you just need to get out of the situation, or can I go and get a drink? Let me get you a drink, or, you know, I just need to get a refill here. I've just seen someone, excuse me a second, it's been lovely talking to you. Here's my business card, and you can kind of exit. And actually, you have to be able to, just like you have to get skilled at engaging with people, you've got to get skilled at disengaging with people as well. Because if you're at a networking event and you get hogged by someone, that actually doesn't serve you. That doesn't serve you to not talk to other people. So you have to be able to end that conversation and move on to your next one. So, you know, excuse me, I need to go to the bathroom. No one can really argue with that, can they? But, you know, that's not your last resort, right? You know, you can legitimately, and practice and have a think about what you'd say, sort of like, it's been wonderful talking to you. Allow me to let you talk to other people, because I want to do exactly the same. You can be really polite about that.
I like that last one. That's a lovely polite one. Yeah.
And you know,
because the whole point of networking is networking, right? It's not about speaking to the same person for the whole time. So it's about thinking about that. I read a great book actually by Andy Bounds, where he talked about networking and how you work a room and how you can do it. But I just love hearing from the practitioners, to be fair, as well. I think there are definitely polite ways of moving on and making sure that you're making the most of being in a networking situation.
And I think there's something also to learn, because if you are feeling a bit hemmed in or feeling a bit bored by a conversation you've had, you know, let's challenge yourself onto how can you turn that around to make it engaging. So give yourself a challenge. How can you exit, or if you need to, but also what can you learn? So what's the body language that you can learn, so you know you're having that impact on someone when you're talking to them, that they're becoming disengaged. You know, you would never, if you're feeling like, oh, I need to get away, you don't want to ever be having a conversation where someone thinks, oh, I want to get away. So let's make sure that when we're talking to people, we read their body language, we hear their responses, and get in the front foot. So if you think you're having that impact on someone, you say, oh, well, actually, allow me to let you go to your next person, because I'm going to go to mine, right?
Absolutely. Although I have to say, we have run networking events where Rose has blown a whistle, and we've all moved on and met somebody new. And do you know what? That works really, really well. It might seem a bit extreme, but do you know, and the first time you did it, I was like, seriously, it works really well, because it actually forced us in a nice, positive way to network and move. And Mayo, do you think that you're never too young to start networking? What's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think you're never too young to start networking. I think you should start as soon as you can, because I think starting early actually gives you a head start, because it prepares you for success, because you're building a list of contacts from such an early stage. And I think, your network plays a huge role in the kinds of opportunities that enters the sphere of your awareness. So, for example, like I said, this podcast, for example, if I wasn't a part of the Under Black Interns Network, I wouldn't be here discussing with you both. So I think networking has definitely helped me navigate my entry into the financial services sector, and I strongly believe that I would help many other young professionals out there as well. So you're never too young to start.
Brilliant. And you're never too old to keep going either. So Rose, on that point, see what I did there. How important is it to maintain a network? And I think you alluded to it a little bit earlier in terms of, your network's kind of a fluid thing, isn't it? It's not it's, people come and go, and it's just like your friends, right? But what's your thoughts on this one? And I also want to ask your thoughts about networking outside of the sector.
Yeah, so I think it's really important to maintain your network, but don't be too precious about keeping all of the same people in it, right? People come and go, just like, when I was 16 years old, I had a different group of friends to the ones that I had at 25, to the ones I had at 30. I had some cool people that were always there, but it's okay for people to come in and out of your life. They're coming out of your work life, professional life, and in and out of your network. So I think that it's okay to say hello and goodbye to people, but I think it's always important to put new blood into that. So anyone that has clients and they look after clients, you don't just look after the same clients. You always want to bring new blood into it. You want to freshen it up. You want to give yourself new ideas. So extremely important, and that requires effort as well. And I think one of the things that Maya was saying was, if she hadn't said yes to the intern program, she wouldn't be here. So that's something that's really important. You can one of the ways, really easy ways to maintain your network is say yes. Like you reached out to me, hey Rose, can you do this podcast? I'm like, yes. It reminds me of Shonda Rhimes' book, Year of Yes. If you haven't read it, read it. It's just fantastic. The opportunities that she got in that book by just saying yes are just amazing. And I had a year of yes. And actually, when I did that, my career and network just totally catapulted for all really, really positive reasons. So yeah, it's just really, really important to maintain it and think about how you can actually inject energy into that network to maintain and evolve it too.
Yeah, and what about outside of the sector? Because I think we're on the same page. It's important not just to think narrow in terms of financial services for your network.
Yeah, so as a wise man once said to me, if you have in order to get different results, you need to have different thinking. And if you just have the same thinking from the same group of people in the same sector, you'll move around that sphere. So I think it's really, really important. And so just a real quick story. So I've worked, as I've said, across a whole bunch of areas in financial services. And a few years ago, we were at Funds Forum together, weren't we, Gillian? And I was on the plenary panel talking with a whole bunch of really smart economists and asset managers around money and investments and all this kind of stuff. And I was representing the customer. And one of the things I said was, well, it doesn't actually matter if you performed above or below the benchmark. If the customer is £100 a month short for their pension, that's what they care about, not about your peer group performance. And actually, there was a couple of tweets that were real aha moments. But of course, if you just, and so what am I trying to bring to life there? Asset managers amongst asset managers all speak the same language and try to beat each other, but actually there are other people that have a totally different view. That's why it's really important to network and bring those people in that don't allow you to get caught in your own spin, but will actually bring a different way of thinking.
Absolutely, I completely agree. And I know that some of the best people I work with at times are out of the sector in terms of my network. I'm really conscious we've got like a minute to go. So before we finish, I knew that this time would fly past. We could have done an hour on this topic because we've got such great guests today. So just before we finish off, I'm just going to ask each of you, what would be your one piece of advice to people listening to our podcast today? Mayo, can I start with you?
Yeah, sure. So I think it would be for me, which I've already highlighted already before, see the value in others. It shouldn't always be about yourself. And I think for young professionals as myself, do not feel like you have nothing of value to offer. You know, you may not be able to help, you know, the CEO of a company to get his job, but, you know, you might have a child struggling with uni or trying to struggle with subjects, and you might just value your take on it. So yes, just don't be too intimidated. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Rose, over to you.
I'll keep it brief. So I would say when it comes to networking, I would say be brave, say yes, and really lean into operating in your stretch zone. So, you know, all those things that make you feel uncomfortable, if you do it once, then and you survive it, which you will, then you can do it again. So, you know, don't be scared to say, hi, my name's Rose St. Louis. I'm Sandra Gillian. I'd really like to introduce myself to you. And that's okay. That's okay to say that. And then you've broken the ice and you can start to have a conversation with someone.
Brilliant. Look, thank you so much. I've had such good fun on this podcast today. I knew I would. So thank you to both of you for taking part. It's been a whistle-stop tour of networking. Thank you to everybody that's on the call today that's listening. Great debate, and hopefully we've helped people thinking about a career in this industry to make them realise that actually we're all here to support, and that the power of networking cannot be underestimated no matter what stage and age you are in terms of your career. So fantastic. So thank you everyone for listening. The next podcast takes place on the 26th of November. And again, I'll be joined by two great guests, and we're going to talk about coaching. So another interesting and insightful topic. So with that, I'll say goodbye and enjoy your weekend, everybody.